Hello, my fellow seekers. Welcome to Into the Work, therapy for empaths, seekers, and the intuitively driven, where you have front row seats to therapy sessions and expert interviews that will help you define the important work that you're here to do. So I guess you actually have something better than front row seats. You practically have a seat on my couch. That's right, you will have unrestricted access to actual sessions with real people, exploring real life issues. You will continue to be inspired by powerful conversations with experts and healers that might just share exactly what it is that you need to hear to get unstuck. I am Michelle Pauverman. I am a recovering people pleaser and former anxiety-driven empath, turned now mostly grounded psychotherapist and intuitive coach. I have been helping people for almost 20 years manage their limiting beliefs and anxiety to finally stop the self-sabotage and step into their gifts. I created this podcast, Into the Work, to give you a place to learn more about yourself and give you actionable strategies to finally move those roadblocks holding you back so you can go for what you want. Above all else, my hope is that this podcast is a catalyst for your awakening. If you're listening, you've already taken a step towards getting off of autopilot, and our next steps together will be taken episode by episode, waking you up to the possibilities, the new ways of thinking and being, so that you can stretch into that next level of your story. The spark has already been lit, and my friend, this is a journey from spark to brilliance. So together, let's light a fire. Hi, and welcome back to Into the Work, therapy for empaths and seekers. This is your host, Michelle Pauverman, psychotherapist, intuitive coach, and energy healer. And today, we're diving into something that might just change how you approach your personal and spiritual growth forever. So I'm making a big claim there, but let me start by just saying, you can't expand your body. You can't expand yourself personally and spiritually and receive intuition and your knowing and your guidance to moving forward. And you can't receive all these things you probably, the goals that you want to reach even, right? You need to receive those. You can't receive those things if your body thinks it's in danger. No matter how many meditations you do, no matter how many journals you fill up or mantras you say, if your nervous system does not feel safe, you're not available to connect on a soul level. This is what I'm calling regulation before revelation. And today we're going to explore the psychological foundation that's required for deep inner work from both a scientific and spiritual lens. So by the end of this episode, you will understand what you need to do before you sign up for that class on intuition or spiritual expansion, or you dive into something where you're going to do some really deep work on yourself, and before you even set your goals, the big goals, right? Even the soulful goals that we talked about on this show before. There is a first step. And so let's talk about what is nervous system regulation and what does it mean for you? So I'm going to break it down really simply. I'm not going to get too far into the biology of it, the science of it, but I want you to be able to understand. We're going to be talking about your autonomic nervous system, okay, and the two parts specific to the autonomic nervous system that really participate in whether or not you are in a state of chronic stress, urgency, fight or flight, which I will also be referring to as nervous system dysregulation, right? You're dysregulated. And that's what I mean by that, okay? And this is all going to make a lot of sense. This might be familiar to you or not, but it's all going to make a lot of sense as we come full circle on the spiritual aspect of things. So we're going to be talking about the autonomic nervous system, and it's two parts. So the sympathetic nervous system, the sympathetic part, okay, that is the part that is like putting your foot on the gas, okay? Good or bad, this is where your brain starts to believe that everything needs to get turned on, that it sends messages throughout the body at the speed of light so fast, everywhere. So it's sending messages out to let everything know, your organs, your entire physical body is being warned that it's time to act. And so certain things start to shift, and we're going to get into that. And then the parasympathetic nervous system, that's like the brake. That's where you slow it down, right? That's where you get into everything shutting down. There's recovery happening. All the things that were all revved up starts to relax, restore. Everything gets back into place where it's safe again. And that's the state that we want to be in more often. Okay. That's where the sympathetic gets us all revved up and the parasympathetic calms us down. And you have both of these happening. But in chronic stress, what we know is happening is that your sympathetic nervous system that revs you up, in our day and age, right now, we see through testing and research that people are in a chronic state of their sympathetic nervous system being dysregulated, which means that they may be able to calm it down, like you have them do some deep breathing, you have them do some things. And as soon as they stop doing those things, all of a sudden you'll watch on the screen that their sympathetic starts turning back on, and they go right back into a chronic state of dysregulation, right? Where things are chaotic. Things are like you're running from the saber-toothed tiger, as you know, right? So while this sympathetic nervous system is preparing you for danger and threat, it's turning on that fight or flight response, right? That something bad is occurring and it's changing and shifting everything that's happening in your body, okay? So your heart rate is going up. You think your breathing is going up. I tell people what I see a lot when people have chronic stress is they do shallow breathing. I want you to check for this. If you're a shallow breather, it ends up mimicking anxiety in the body. And so if you kind of take these little tiny shallow breaths all day, then you are probably creating and triggering, more issues with the system. That shallow breathing can really contribute to feeling anxious. We also see high blood pressure. That also contributes to it. Your pupils even can change. You can start to sweat, but we do know that glucose is released from the liver, as well as fatty acids from certain tissue. And all of it's being used because we need this for immediate energy to flight, right? It's immediate energy that we need. Your blood flow is redirected to vital organs. So digestion and reproduction slow down, and your muscles get really tense. And your hands, your arms, your limbs, these don't need as much blood, right? They're like everything's going to the center of your body. And so all that stuff is happening. And think about that. If your digestion is slowing down every time you're stressed, right? So your digestion is slowing down. All these things are happening. Your liver's dumping glucose out into the system so that, now you have all this sugar in your system to manage. And you're really not truly running, right? You're not. You literally lost your keys and you need to get out the door. And so you hit a high level of stress. And then you get in the car and there's an unforeseen traffic. And then, oh my gosh, you dump again. And then you get to work or wherever you're going in life and there's conflict or there's something else happening and that's stressful. And then little things, tiny little things like, going to the grocery store and they're not having what you needed. Suddenly you get aggravated, right? That's so annoying, right? It's so annoying. And then that thing that happened that you really wanted to get at the grocery store suddenly is cascading a new event in the body that is dysregulation. That is the nervous system signaling that we're unsafe again and again and again throughout your day. And you're shallow breathing and all this is happening, right? And so you're dysregulated. And now you take this person who happens to be somewhat average at this day and age. We have a lot of stressors coming at us, a lot of demands. We have emails left and right, text messages reaching us any point of the day. We literally are bombarded by stimulus that is potentially asking us to overreact, to be overwhelmed. And so now what we need is to get the parasympathetic nervous system to be responding more often. It needs to shut everything down. It needs to promote digestion again. It needs to promote the reproductive system. Also, your ovaries literally have to play a role in circulation. So everything is important, right? Your nervous system really is your body's command center. So it's constantly scanning the environment and looking to see if it's safe or not. And when your system is dysregulated, right? Either anxious or shut down, which is another thing. We can also experience a shutdown, which is where we freeze versus the fight and flight. But your brain prioritizes survival, not intuition, not insight, not creativity. Like I said, like if your house is on fire, I wouldn't ask you to stop and plant a vegetable garden, right? It's not, you have your 5 alarm alerts that go off because you can't find your, cell phone is a reason why we're having this conversation today, because that's likely happening too often. And I really want to help you to look at, how do I really truly open up to have these epiphanies that I want to have spiritually? How do I have these epiphanies that I really want to have personally? How do I set these goals and actually continuously show up for them, right? Not just like the first day or the first week. How do I continuously show up for them? And part of it, people don't realize, is that you have to get safe in your body. But here's the thing that you truly want, when you're in a dysregulated state, your inner guidance is distorted. You confuse fear for intuition, perhaps urgency for divine timing, or overwhelm for, receiving downloads. I myself have had a really tense experience when I was actually at a sound bowl healing with a mentor of mine and some other people. And I had this visual of my whole family during a sound bowl healing flying off the side of a mountain in a car and crashing down in the bottom. And I just shot up and I said, oh my God, I just saw my family die. Is this intuition? Like, was I getting a psychic hit that my family's going to die? And, a mentor of mine set up and she said, no, love, this is not intuition. This is not psychic. This is fear. And this is just your nervous system kicking in. And one of the things I really learned after that happened, I started getting more and more interested in this concept, that when I tried to go and relax, and when any of us do, when you go to try to relax and do something like, oh, I'm going to go to the sound bowl healing, right? A lot of times it's not unusual for, as soon as our body relaxes, all of a sudden the unconscious comes forward and creates drama. It creates stimulus, a thought like, hey, you didn't do this and you didn't do this, right? And all of a sudden you're spinning in your head about your to-do list. As soon as you relax, all of a sudden your brain wants to tell you something's wrong, because it's our way, our bodies, our unconscious way, which is connected to our nervous system, of trying to keep us safe, trying to make sure we're okay. It doesn't always feel safe to the unconscious parts of us to just sit back and relax. It sounds strange because that's what our nervous system needs. That's what our body needs. But for our actual unconscious programming is push harder, go further, keep going, don't be lazy. And so we're just sitting back and relaxing. And all of a sudden we're like getting slammed with, you got this, you got this, you got this. It's also can be attributed to that upper limit that I've talked about, the upper limit issues that I've talked about here on the podcast, when we really want to go for something and all of a sudden, like out of nowhere, we hit that ceiling, like, oh, I'm so excited, we're going to do this really cool thing. And then all of a sudden you sabotage it, right? Like all these bad thoughts come in, all this fear comes in, I can't do that. Or even on a date night with your spouse or your partner, and you're like, I'm so excited to go on a date night, and then you pick a fight. It's our way of bringing shit back down instead of allowing it to be expansive. And your nervous system is similar, and such that you are trying to do this deep work and be open to it. And you go to the class, you do the thing, you read the book, and you try to do the work, and it doesn't happen because your nervous system needs to truly know that it's safe. If your body doesn't feel safe, your soul can't fully show up. And I don't mean obviously your soul is in your body, outside your body, all the things. But I just mean if your body doesn't feel safe, that soulful information, that soul-aligned information, that higher self information, intuition, all of that, it's hard for it to fully show up. If you're constantly overthinking, thinking, you're in your logical brain because you're trying to, that's where our sympathetic nervous system puts us, right? We need to problem solve. So it's hard for us to just be open to receiving that information. And dysregulated nervous systems contribute to misalignment. When we are anxious and scattered, it's hard to access intuition and knowing. or access like our intuitive GPS, because what we want many times feels like a moving target, right? So when we're all scattered and anxious, then we have a hard time like making decisions that are truly aligned with our truth, truly aligned with who we are, because we're not even sure, right? We're just kind of feeling anxious and scattered. And so then we're like, what I want is a moving target, Michelle. I don't know where to land it because I don't really feel like trust any of it. And so when we make choices that are misaligned with our truth, or we freeze, which is another option, just totally freezing and doing nothing and just hiding, which is also a misalignment to your purpose and your deeper desires, we can really feel like, we lose trust in ourselves, and our nervous system isn't able to feel calm, to be open, to be safe. And we need safety in order to do the things we want to do. And remember, we attract what we are, not what we want. So reaching for the expansive, magical, spiritual experiences and hoping that magical stuff starts showing up and all this really cool stuff like setting goals and just, wanting to kind of really do law of attraction stuff and bring it in also doesn't work for us when our nervous system is dysregulated, because it's sending messages all over the place that we are unsure of what we truly want because it's hard to align. Because all of it requires our bodies, our physiological state to feel safe, or at least safe enough. And spiritual traditions know this. That's why breath work, grounding rituals, body awareness are all starting points of almost every sacred path. We also now know through science about neuroplasticity. We understand that the brain has the ability to change and grow, and new pathways can be carved out, and we can create completely new habits, new ways of being and feeling in our lives. And it's all connected to also our nervous system's ability to feel safe. So if you're trying to have a big spiritual breakthrough or rewiring old beliefs and programming so that you can heal, but you haven't tended to your body's sense of safety, you're skipping a crucial step. That's what this is all about. This whole podcast today is about telling you that there is a very crucial step, and I'm telling you it's sometimes the keys to the kingdom for you to be able to learn, if I do this and then I show up for my deep work, then I show up for the work I want to do, and I actually make a ritual of it, and I actually make a habit of it, and I actually keep making it, I do it frequently and I do it often enough, then you can start to shape and change your nervous system. So let me name a few signs that your system may be asking for regulation before insight, okay? You bounce from one thing to the other. Sticking to anything is really difficult. This can be literally any area of your life. You struggle to meditate or go inward. It feels agitating. It doesn't feel calming. If after 5 minutes, you're just like, I'm done. I need to move on. That level of agitation in the body is related to your nervous system. Now, I know some of you are thinking, yeah, no, I'm kind of ADD, so I can't really sit still. That's bogus. Actually, your nervous system is responding to, yes, your overwhelming number of thoughts, which we know ADD is not a deficit, right? It's actually an excess. It's not a deficit. It's not a deficit of attention. That's actually incorrect. There's an overwhelming excess of attention. So you have attention everywhere. And so, yes, that is difficult on the nervous system. And it is constantly holding and trying to keep up with things that feel overwhelming to you. And so it's the nervous system when you sit down, because you can sit down and meditate and have 100 thoughts. That's okay. You can have the thoughts and just let them go and have them come again and let them go and have them come again and let them go. The goal is not to not have thoughts. The goal is to be able to get in your body and to sit and to be and to release those thoughts, let's say, if it's a mindfulness-based exercise you're doing. But it truly is your nervous system. So another thing to look for is if you're really absorbing others' energies like a sponge, and I bring this in for my empath listeners, and you can't seem to clear it, and it really feels like I feel like crap at the end of my day, and I really kind of still feel like I'm going to work with it the next day. Like the body's not naturally clearing this stuff enough. Like many of us will say, "Oh my gosh, I get so overwhelmed by other people's energy." But sometimes by the next day, we're like, okay, it's gone. But if you're really tapping into yourself and you realize, like, it's not like I'm still shaky, I'm still weird, I'm still anxious for no reason, all that stuff is telling you that it's time for you to calm your nervous system. If you panic when asked to visualize your future self, I want to plug this one in because it's actually been happening in my life. So when you're asked to visualize your future self and it feels so overwhelming, like someone says, I want you to just think about, your future self and what you want for yourself and what is she doing and how is she experiencing life? Some people are like, oh my God, I love that. That's amazing. I want to do that. And some people are like anxiety ridden, totally overwhelmed with the task and feel like you're asking them way too much, right? That is you knowing your nervous system is not ready for that type of expansive work. That's expansive, right? You're in constriction. You're in, the container of being safe. And then I'm asking you to be all expansive and look at your future self. And it's like, I can't think of my future self. I'm in the weeds here, right? I can't think that big. That is a big sign. And if you feel ungrounded, dissociated, like you're floating through life, is also another way that you might be functioning with this and sort of freezing up. And that's also can be part of the nervous system's way of responding to the stress in your life. So all of this is so common, especially for empaths who grew up in unpredictable, chaotic, or emotionally unsafe environments. I mean, really for most people who grew up in these environments. I only say empaths because we are so sensitive and porous to some of this stuff that we can be less resilient in it. But you are not broken. You just need to start with your body. Start with your body, then go to your soul and your mind and all the other parts. But start with regulating before you try to expand in your life. Here's the good news. You don't need to be fully healed to access this part of you. You don't have to do 4 years of work before you can really, expand and really step into your inner powers, your inner guidance in goal setting and going for what you want and creating this life from a soulfully driven place. But you do need to be regulated enough to receive what your soul is saying, right? What your spiritual guidance is saying. So let's talk about spending a moment, maybe it's the start of your day, the middle of your day, and before you go to bed, where you take a moment and look around the room at what you see. This brings your brain to the here and now. Another way I do this is I'll tell my clients, I want you to close your eyes and take a deep breath, and I just want you to listen to sounds in the room. I want you to visualize the room that you're in and remember where some of the things are. And then I want you to just really bring in those sounds and pay attention to them for a little while. And then grounding touch, like place your hands over your heart or your belly to take a breath. That also grounds you, connects you to your body. And then getting in the body, right? And breath work is a wonderful, incredible way to do this. Breathing is so ridiculously healing. It's free and easy access, and it's something our body deeply and truly needs us to be doing better. So inhaling for 4, exhaling for 6. This is very common. This lengthened exhale helps signal safety to your brain. So when you breathe in for 4, hold it, and then breathe out for 6 as slowly as you can. This lengthened exhale really does start to signal that parasympathetic nervous system. It's called the relaxation response. So when you do deep breathing, all of a sudden, that parasympathetic system of yours gets the signal. And then its job is to shut everything down, like we talked about, put the brakes on, get you grounded, allow you to feel safe, allow your organs to just not needing to hoard all the attention, right? They don't need all the energy. You can start sending blood places it needs to be. You can start turning your digestion back on. And movement also is a really incredible way of really getting into your body to release that survival energy of like the fight or flight. Is just shaking, stretching, walking, yoga, obviously. Moving your body at all just gets you in it. It's so important. I'm a real big fan of like, I'll even do weird things like if I'm feeling stressed or I'm feeling anxious, I'll even kind of it sounds strange, but I'll even do like 10 jumping jacks and then do some deep breaths and stretching just because I want to almost shake it out. And so there's also a thing called shaking where people literally just flail their arms and shake everything. They shake their legs, they shake their arms. That also is a huge energy release, and it also grounds you in your body. And also really start to visualize safety and create the language of safety. So much of our experience truly is created by us, right? We actually hold all the power. So just by how you think about something, how you talk to yourself about something. I was just talking about this today in my boundary class as we were wrapping up our final meeting with my boundary mastery empath class. It's just was so beautiful. In our final meeting, we were going over a lot of our themes and the growth that everybody's had. And one of the things we talked about is just changing our language. And one of the aha moments that I had earlier in this podcast, I actually can link the show in the show notes, but there was a particular episode where I talk about things to stop saying to yourself, right? And it's all about talking to yourself differently. And one of the little tips I gave that I talked about today in our boundary class was when we're feeling like we're in scarcity and we're feeling like we don't have enough. And when you feel like you're constantly saying like, I can't afford that, I can't have that. One of the things that I love to say instead to realign back into my center and feel grounded is to say, that's not a priority for me right now. It's not, I can't have this. I wish I could have this. Why can't I have this? I really want that, but I can't. When you get into that energy of lack, then to just say to yourself, I can have that when I want it, but that's not a priority for me right now. And it shifts the entire system. You get back into a state of power and regulation, and that you are making smart choices for yourself. And that's not a priority right now, but it can be someday. And so I think that's really helpful. And so the way you talk to yourself is really important. How you show up, the words you say. If you are in shutdown mode, okay, and you're trying to come out of survival mode, and you're in a chronic stress body, and you're trying to think big and expansive, I'm going to tell you that you have to calm the body. And you got to do that every single day, at least a few times a day. I used to work at WPI, actually, a college, an engineering college. And there was this big clock on campus. And I would tell the students that were my clients, I would tell them, when you're out on campus, every time that bell rings, because the clock on campus would ding so loud, you'd hear it everywhere. And I would tell people, go ahead. And I want you to take a really deep, slow breath. In fact, I want you to take 2 or 3 as soon as that clock goes off. And that was their signal to regulate again, to check on their shallow breathing, to bring in those deep diaphragmatic breaths, which, by the way, if you're a shallow breather, you'll also know that you're a shallow breather when it's kind of difficult to take a really huge, slow, deep breath. Like I can breathe in for almost 10. Count your in-breath and see how far you can go. You might notice you're at a 4 and you just really can't go further than that. And that is okay. That is temporary. That is something that will change with practice. And that's how you'll know that you're getting more regulated, as well as you can hold deeper breaths and things slow down. Also really helpful is yes, energy work. I just have to say it again and again and again. Reiki, sound healing, any type of intentional energy clearing to support your system is huge. I have a clearing system that I will have in the show notes. It's one of the free gifts that I'm giving away right now, and it's called the Squeegee Meditation. And it is a way to support you in releasing all the stuff that doesn't belong to you, everybody else's energy, and your own that's not supportive of you, right? And just a way of clearing it and really grounding and getting in your body and feeling good. That is that particular meditation or activation. It's sort of a method that I teach. And it's something that by practicing it, you'll learn to do it on your own, easy peasy, super quick. I mean, you can do it anywhere. You can do it in an elevator, you can do it in a bathroom, you can do it before walking on stage, you can do it before going to bed. It's like something you can do anywhere. And it's a quick method for you to clear and ground and feel protected. And so I highly recommend checking that out if you've not done that. So there are ways of telling your body that it's safe to be here. It's safe for you to expand. It's safe for you to receive. And it's safe for you to trust yourself. Those 4 things right there. If you can get into a place where you are saying and repeating those 4 things to yourself every day, if you can actually start to say, yeah, I actually feel like it's safe for me to be in my body and to be here. It's safe for me to expand. I'm safe no matter what. That's when you know your programming is starting to shift. It's safe to receive. You can receive something from somebody and it's like, oh, this is so wonderful. Thank you. Versus, oh my God, what are they doing? What have I given? Is this okay? I feel unsafe, right? I don't know if I can receive this. It's too much. We can only, rise up to the level in which our nervous system allows us to. And so when you try to go in and become this expansive being without first creating safety in the body, you just can't expand beyond what your nervous system will allow. And here's the truth. It's not about being perfectly calm all the time. It's about being able to notice when you're not. You're human. It's not about being calm all the time. That's not realistic. The key is, do you notice when you're not? And then you come back to center with compassion when you do. But the moment that you notice you're not present is the moment that you are. Okay, let that sit. The moment you notice you're not present is truly the moment that you are. And you have to be able to be present in order to bring in safety to your nervous system. When your nervous system is regulated, your spiritual insights don't just hit you, they anchor in. You feel them. You're like, whoa, this is exactly what I need to do. They don't just inspire you. They really feel very transformative. Like I had this epiphany, people will say, right? Like I heard this before, but for whatever reason today, it's like this boom, it's running through my body. It's coursing through my veins. It feels like an epiphany. That's when growth becomes embodied and lived and real. And then you get to go take that and put it out into the world and make something of it. But in order to do so, you just have to start by creating safety in the body, calming the body down, doing deep breathing, checking to see, being aware when you are not calm, when you are not present, and starting to bring yourself to the present moment more often is really the name of the game. So if you've been feeling blocked in your healing or your spiritual journey, if you're asking the universe for a sign, right, and you're getting static, like you're getting nothing, I want you to check in with your body first. I want you to say, oh, okay, how calm am I? How do I feel in my body? Just take a deep breath and sit down and just feel your body for a moment. Do a body scan from top to bottom. How do you feel? Where is the stress in your body? Is it in your hands? Is it in your chest? Is it in your stomach? Is it in your throat? Where is it? And start to notice, oh, repetitively, it's in the same place. Look at that. That's information. Oh, by the way, that's where you have a lot of physical problems, in that area where you're carrying stress most often. This is all really good practice and good information for your body to feel safe. It needs to be seen. Okay? So in order for your body to feel safe, it needs to be seen. And so really being present with yourself is truly the goal. Now, regulation before revelation is really not just like a cute little mantra, but it's a way of honoring your humanity as a vessel for your divinity. Like you are here for a very meaningful life. You are here there's meaning to your existence, and it's important, and you matter. And to go through life in a place where you are in survival mode would be a shame if you didn't figure out how to ground and to get present and to go inward and to calm and to be able to receive and expand and understand, what it is that you want so that you can actually get clarity and go for it. But it's really important for you first to get calm and grounded, and for you to feel safe in doing so. So if this episode resonated with you, I would love it if you would share it with a fellow seeker who might need this little reminder of just what they can do to deepen their practice. I've included the tools in the show notes. I have the links that'll be there for you, and hopefully they will help you regulate before your next big revelation so you can really step in and take action that feels good, inspired. All right. So thank you again for listening. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will look forward to talking with you next week. Bye for now. Thank you for listening to Into the Work Therapy for Empaths and Seekers. Don't forget to grab your free gift, your Shadow Work Transformation Bundle at michellepoverman.com. I've included everything you need to get started to break through the patterns of self-sabotage and finally start to heal the parts of yourself that are getting in the way of truly reaching your potential. From a powerful meditation designed to help you meet and embrace your shadow self, to the guide that's full of curated prompts and important questions to support you on this journey. This really can be the work for you to unmask the root cause of all the issues you've been experiencing, honestly, and start to feel free to believe in yourself and go for what you want. The link for this free bundle is in the show notes. And if you like this episode, I would be so grateful if you could take a moment and rate, click and follow, and leave a review. Of course, you can always follow me on socials at Michelle Poverman. And keep in mind, as you embark on your journey from spark to brilliance, remember, the universe is always conspiring in favor of your awakening. Everything that's happening is in support of you lighting your own fire within. So until we meet again, may your path be well lit and your heart be guided. Shine bright, seekers. Until next time.